that works. But like, I'm just trying to wrap up my head around it. Like, what do you actually mean by visibility? And so when you're working with people, when you are doing something, there's a natural visibility that gets created with people whom you're working day in and day out with, or you're closely working with. Now, what does this visibility mean? Is it like targeting to some set of people with whom you need to create that visibility, or is it just your work related visibility, or what is it? Since it's going to be like that 80% that I hear, I am like just wondering what it actually is. Do we actually have a defined path for that? And how do you navigate through that? Tips on that.
Yeah. So so visibility really means that you have to so I think there's two aspects to it, right? There's a visibility in terms of recognition of the work that you've done or that you're busy dealing with, right? And there's a visibility in terms of interacting with your peers or your stakeholders. When it comes, so let's deal with that one first, right? When I think a rule of thumb for me is in terms of visibility to stakeholders, and this is based on my own feedback that I got, right? Because it was, Sebastian, it's just, it's not very helpful that when I send you a request, I don't know if you're working on it, right? I don't know, then I have to send a follow-up. So I have to remember to track the request, and I have to send a follow-up and another follow-up, and you just don't get back to me until then, 3 or 5 days later or whenever you send me the finished product, right? And there could be very good reasons why it takes so long, why you're not working on it, or that you have been working on it and there's just delays. But if I don't see that, right, I can't, I feel like I'm just being ignored. So that was feedback that I got. And I think that's probably the very valuable for you is if something takes less than 5 minutes to do, right? You get an email and you scan it and it's a 5-minute job, then do it now, right? Don't save it for later. Just do it, reply, and finish. If something is something that you have to do, but it takes longer than 5 minutes, then you need to put it into your to-do list, right? And the way to do that is obviously you have, I assume you have a to-do list somewhere that you track what you do, but you also have to reply to the person, right? And you have to manage their expectations from the beginning. You say, hey, I got your email, right? If you have any follow-up questions, you ask the follow-up questions immediately in that, and then just manage the expectations. You say, I've added it to my to-do list, right? And then you tell them it will take, I'll get back to you by the end of the day. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll get back to you in 3 weeks, right? It doesn't matter because realistically, we all have high priority items on our to-do list. So things get bumped all the time, but you have to tell people when they can realistically expect something, right? So I often, when I get a request, if I get a request live in a call, I straight up ask, okay, cool, noted, but when do you need it, right? And please, not I need it yesterday. Realistically, by when do you need it? When's your call that you need the page for, blah, blah, blah. And then we can have a conversation and I can say, right, okay, your call is in 2 days, give me until tomorrow. Okay, your call is in 2 weeks, I'll give it to you in a week and a half, something like that. And a part of that is also then making sure when you've committed to delivering something by a certain date, then you have to deliver by that certain date. If there's a good reason for it being delayed, you get sick or, something, all of a sudden, some cell leader comes along and says, oh, you need to stop doing anything and just work on this. Then you write the person and say, hey, this has come up, or I'm sick or whatever. It'll take longer, or you have to manage it then. You have to either hand it off to somebody else to deliver, or you have to say, hey, I've got a couple of more, can you be flexible? Can we push things back? So I think that's, in terms of visibility, that's super important, because nothing will get you a bad review, right, as quickly as people not getting a response from you, right? And it can be once, it's something as silly as, you think, and I know we love doing it internally to ourselves as well as a team, right? Where somebody sends a question or a request and nobody answers to it. It doesn't leave a good impression, right, of anybody. The fact that, when you've asked nicely for something to be done, and if it isn't that, if there's no response whatsoever, not even a, hey, I can't deal, no, I'm not doing it, would be much better than just being ignored. So I think in terms of visibility, yes, like I said, visibility, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of visibility is, of course, giving your senior stakeholders and the people who are going to who are going to be on your review list, the visibility into the impact that you're creating through your work. Right? So it doesn't mean that, hey, let's say Olivia's going to be on your review list, right? Just as an example. So you say, hey, one of my people that I want on my reference list is Olivia. It doesn't mean you now need to copy Olivia into every important email that you're doing or every important task that you're doing. But it does mean that you find a rhythm of calls with those people, right, with your core stakeholders in reference, and you make sure that what you're working on aligns with their expectations, right, and that you're constantly asking them for feedback, right? We have a feedback culture in the firm, so you go, hey, look, I just want to connect for 15 minutes to give you a quick rundown of my current priorities, see if there's anything you want me to focus on, and just hear if you have any feedback for me, right? And it can literally be a 15-minute call, because you say, hey, these are my current priorities, blah, 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 right? Just want to check in with you, that's aligned, right? These are the things that are very critical to you. And if they say, okay, but I want you to work on something else, I have this new work stream for you, then you need to decide, hey, I have the capacity to take this on, and you say, yes, I can do it. Or you got to say, I don't have the capacity, and then you say, okay, what do you want me to drop, right? So I'm happy to take on your high priority work, but you've got to tell me what the trade-off is. What do you want me to stop doing so that I can free up the capacity to do that? Yes, and then in terms of just asking them for feedback, it's literally as easy as going, so in the spirit of getting feedback culture, I just want to check with you, how am I doing? Have you seen any things that concern you? Is there anything that I could be doing better? And that immediately creates visibility with them of the work you're doing. You're taking their needs seriously, right? You're asking them what your key stakeholders, what is the most important thing for you, and you're taking the opportunity to ask them for better ways to do your work, to serve them. So yeah, that's what I do.
No, makes sense. I think especially on the first part that you were mentioning about, reverting, letting people know. I had also got that feedback initially, so I was trying to be, more mindful. I wouldn't say that it doesn't happen 100% right now, but it does still, sometimes when you're middle of a lot of things, then you skip a email or so it happens. But then I try to consciously make that effort to, get back to a person, because I read it somewhere as well that, no response is the worst response you can give somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I try to push myself consistently to, at least drop them an email or Slack or whatever, just to know that, I'm working on it and I'll get back the timeline with the timeline, or, what other follow up questions I might have for you. So that thing I think I am trying to do. Uh, the rest, I think,
Yeah.
as in when I'm working with people, and doing things, the feedback thing I haven't started doing yet, like keeping calls with my people on my reference list to, kind of do that continuously. I think that I will keep in mind, and try to, do that more often. Uh,
If
yeah,
you so I'll be frank, right? If you want good feedback at the end of the year,
yeah,
right? We approaching end of year reviews
yeah,
quickly now, right? There's like 4 more months, and then we'll start the review cycle.
yeah,
So if you're going to set up any check-in calls with your stakeholders, then you've got to do it within the next month
yeah,
in order to give yourself enough time to course correct by the end of the year. Because if somebody says, fantastic that you're setting up this call, I've been meaning to speak to you. This one thing that you're doing or not doing is absolutely critical, or this one thing that you're doing is completely wrong, and I don't think it's good at all. Then you've got to have an opportunity to fix it, right? And then like couple of weeks before before the review cycle opens, go have a second check-in and say, right, feedback from the last session was this and this. I've done these things to correct it. Are you happy now? Is this better? Is there other things that we need to tweak?
mm-hmm.
So that gives you 2 calls with these people, with everybody on your reference list. The first one is to identify any hiccups. And the second call is just to check in and remind them, hey, you have been proactively working on improving yourself, on developing further, right, and serving them better as their finance support.
Yeah,
And then they'll take that into reviews, right? They'll take that into reviews going, when I send them an email, hey, give me feedback on Meghna, and they're going to be like, hey, I spoke to Meghna 3 weeks ago. I know exactly what's going on. Not, let me think back, what did Meghna do 6 months ago that helped me?
no, makes sense. I think right now it's happening naturally. Like when we are working, we are just exchanging feedbacks, but it's not been like a specific call or specific um feedback around, general things and sharing what we are doing. So that's a good point. I'll start with people whom I've not been doing it with. So yeah, noted on that part.
Mm. Yeah, make it a formal discussion, right?
Yeah,
Don't make it a side note on an existing topic call.
yeah,
Make that the topic of the call.
yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. There was another thing I wanted to say. I completely forgot. Oh, right. I was going to say, on getting back, replying to people, right? The thing that is, so responding to emails, being responsive and stuff. If you miss something, that's okay. I mean, we all human. We all miss stuff all the time. Just, be open and frank. It's all, I guess it's part of the ownership mindset that if you make a mistake, you put your hand up and you say, hey, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And if that mistake is you forgot to reply to an email, then you say, I'm so sorry, I forgot to reply to your email, or it got lost in my inbox, I forgot about it,
Mm-hmm.
my bad. And secondly, leverage Copilot
Yeah.
or stuff like that, right? So just flag emails, flag them in different colors, and then have a system. So hey, red flag, or I don't know, blue flag is stuff that needs to be dealt with this week. And then you can tell Copilot, hey, find all the blue flag emails and put together a draft response and put it in my drafts. and then you have a ready set of emails that you know you need to respond to. Then you have in one spot the list that you need to deal with.
Yeah. Copilot is great. It's becoming like my
Yeah.
best friend. So I try to use it as much as possible to summarize thing, to find thing. I no more have to do from this person to this person. I just go to Copilot and ask it to do everything for me. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, this is a good feedback on setting colors of flags and just asking it to draft some of the open emails that you might miss replying. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that should definitely help. Yeah. The other thing I also wanted to, just not a question to you, but I was just generally thinking like, with Abner leaving, with Rebont moving out, do you think something changing in our team dynamics, like something would change? Because I don't know if any backfill is coming or not, and with people having their limited capacity, the things they were already doing, is there gonna be like some sort of shuffling or some other opportunities coming
I
up
don't,
for some people in the team? Or I mean, I don't know, it's just a thought. I haven't even framed it in my mind. I'm just like blabbering out right now, and I don't expect you to have any answer or anything, but I was just wondering because when I was having this conversation with Anshu, and when Christina, I think, mentioned on our last call that Abner is also leaving, so I was like, okay, there are quite a few moving pieces, but I don't know if somebody else is coming, or it's going to be like between the team that people use their capacity. I don't know how that's going to be.
I think any person. I haven't heard anything about new hires, getting new folks into the team. There has been some talk about shifting some things around, but again, nothing permanent, nothing confirmed. I think if anybody leaving the team always creates opportunities, right? In terms of upwards or at least forwards momentum, right? Taking on some more responsibility. And I mean, it's natural, right? So any person, any replacement that we hire, unless it's like I don't know, some 20-year veteran that's coming back into the role, any person that we're hiring into this role or that's going to fill these positions is going to come in with less experience and less knowledge than in this very specific role than you or anybody that's been in the team for longer than 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So just in terms of having that seniority, there's an opportunity to move forward, right? But you have to proactively look for those opportunities. Nobody is. It took me a lot of years to figure this out. Nobody's going to come to you and say, "Hey, we're thinking of creating a couple of new junior business partner roles, or it's time for people to progress into business partner roles so that we can backfill slots." Nobody's going to come to you and say, "Meghna, I want you to do that." You have to be the one that puts up your hand and says, "Hey, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the opportunity to do that."
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good to know.
Yeah, it's painful, right? It's honestly, it's a very painful lesson because I think if you have any experience outside of the firm, there's very clear progression path, right? And there's very clear progression thresholds when right, if I do this type of work, I do it for this type amount of time, then I will be promoted to the next level up, right? That doesn't exist in the firm. I mean, prime example was Gergo, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at how good he was, right? But I mean, he was an analyst,
Yeah.
right, for in the firm for like 11 years,
Yeah.
right? Because he didn't ever go and motivate his own desire to progress in the firm, right? Where he said, "I want to be promoted. Tell me what I need to do to get promoted."
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's what my fear is sometimes around, because, like, when I'm talking to, and I don't know if that's the case just with our finance teams or is it like firm wide, because when I talk to some of the partners in the Finalta, especially the one that I connect with Stuart every twice or thrice a week, sometimes he's like just asking me, do you have like a proper list of checkpoints that you know if you have done this is leading you to your next role, because on the CSP side they still have a lot of those things. Like, I help them prepare their evaluation, so it's based on their sales and a lot of other
Mm.
things, the values that they're bringing, team strength, some of those things. So I don't think we have that in our side of the role. So uh, sometimes I don't
Well,
have.
you do, right? We have the leadership and development model, and we have the technical skills model, right?
Yeah.
So what you need to figure out, hey, what role do I want to be, right? And then go and look at the LDM and the whatever it is, TSM, TCM, TL, technical leadership. I don't know, that one. For that specific role,
Yeah.
and then check where can you confidently say, I do this, and where do you go, I do this sometimes, and where do you go, I'm not doing this,
Yeah.
right? And there is an element of focus on your strengths, right? So the job you're doing at the moment is never going to give you the opportunity to be client facing, right? Then don't look for opportunities to be client facing,
Yeah.
right? Don't try and develop that. But find something where you go, hey, I'm doing this sometimes, but I have if I change my focus slightly, I take on a different work stream, or I take ownership of something, then I have the opportunity to do this a lot more. That's what they mean with focusing on your strengths, right? So don't try and don't try and make miracles happen, but find those things where you already have a foot in the door, an opportunity, where you know that's something that fits into what our team does, and try and really take ownership of that.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah. It's I'll be honest here, right? You need to dedicate quite a bit of time to this, right? In terms of like self promotion, right? And I was talking about this in London as well with a couple of the other team folks, right? Self promotion is really difficult, right? Because it's difficult to say, hey, look at me, I'm awesome, I'm doing a great job.
Yeah.
It's the same way when somebody pays you a compliment, right? You don't want to be like, thanks. You want to be like, don't know, man, don't worry about it. It's fine, The problem is, with the way we do reviews and with the way firm works, you have to, right? You have to, when somebody tells you you're doing a great job, you have to go, thank you. And you have to go, do you mind giving me some feedback on that? Right? And then you send them a feedback now request. When when you have an opportunity, like at the end of the year, to say, look, I am flippin' fantastic, then you have to say, I am flippin' fantastic. You can't say, I think I did a good job, you know, because then you're leaving it up to somebody else. You have to be your own cheerleader. And it sucks. It's not the easiest thing in the world. At least I find it very difficult. But you have to. And in order to be really good at it, you have to dedicate some time to it. And so you have to go, I would say at least,